Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our Beautifully Bold Women podcast. This is our final episode of the year, and we're so excited to have all of you who are here with us watching live, and also those of you who will be watching the replay. We want to welcome you. I am Tamara P. Jones, the founder of Beautifully Bold Women, where we are a community of women of faith who desire to live in the beauty of our purpose, align with God's agenda, and have success and serenity God's way. We are a community that's truly about connecting, supporting, inspiring, and really helping women have meaningful conversations to grow in their journey to truly be everything that God has each and every one of us to be. And so, ladies, I just want you right now, I want you to take a few moments just to tag your girlfriend on Instagram, Facebook. We want you to get them in the room on tonight. We are just so excited about this finale episode of the year. We actually on last month had our BBW advisors for Behind the Brand, but on tonight, ladies, we now have our BBW Spotlight, where we're going to be spotlighting one of the members of our community. And I'm so excited about this because in this community, we truly understand that we have a mission to live out God's kingdom purposes in our life so that we can manifest his glory in the earth, to truly be change agents, because that's what it's about, change agents, to do the assignment that God has called each and every one of us to do. And so this is a place where we grow. This is a place where we learn, where we're mentored, where we come together and have beautiful conversations to help support each other to grow and become everything that God has called us to be. And what I love about our community is that we have no limits. We have no boundaries in terms of our reach in connecting with women, striving to reach them, to serve them in awesomely beautiful ways. And so on tonight, I'm just very excited to have one of our community members join us, but I'm even more excited. I can't even contain my excitement in that last month when we had our podcast, we actually shared that we are opening up for 2025 Beautifully Bold Women ambassadors to our community. And so we had a few email inquiries, we had a phone call conversations, and I am so excited that on tonight, ladies, I hope you're excited, just as excited as I am on tonight. Even before we step into the last month of this year, definitely stepping into 2025, we already have our first official Beautifully Bold Woman ambassador, and I am so excited. So on tonight, our BBW Spotlight is our very own Nicole Marsh, who is our first official Beautifully Bold Women ambassador. She is someone that I had an opportunity to meet at a business mastermind a few years, almost 3 years ago now, I guess about 2.5 years. And we connected for a different reason. It was a very small, intimate community of people. I mean, it wasn't really a community as much as was a mastermind where I had about 12 business owners come together, and we actually met in Atlanta, Georgia. And so the night before there was a reception, and we had a chance to kind of meet where everyone came from. And so I was so elated. Let me tell you all, when I actually met someone who is from my birthplace and my family roots of Raleigh, North Carolina. So yes, Nicole Marsh reigns from Raleigh, North Carolina. And like I said, there's no boundaries to where we serve serve, where we strive to connect women. And so we had an opportunity to meet, and I can say truly we have not only been just in business, but also just become, I say, sister friends. And she has become a part of this community and has been a part of this community since its inception. So I'm so excited. I'm so elated for the first time to have one of our community members and now one of our official BBW ambassadors of this community, Miss Nicole Marsh. Nicole, are you there?
I am. Thank you.
Oh, it's so exciting to have you on here on tonight and to, like I say, be our first, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just being our first
Yes.
BBW ambassador. I know that when we had the podcast last month, you was on my phone like, wait a minute, you were on fire. Like, what is this? Tell me more about this. So I'm just so excited that you have stepped into that role as our first official ambassador. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. There's so much I know that God is doing and will do through your life, and so much in terms of the connection to this community and how we just offline have shared and know that God has great things and what he's going to do. But I just wanted to bring you on. I wanted to have the community just know who our first ambassador is. So it was just so fitting that, when I decided to do this BBW spotlight, because we had our advisors on last month, little did I know that you were going to be our official ambassador and also someone who we would be able to spotlight on tonight. So I just want to thank you, Nicole. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your warm spirit, your passion, your faith, everything that I've been able to come to know about you, but also what I believe in this moment and this evening that others are going to be able to know about you as well. So I just want to start out because I know some things about you, but there's always more layers, I say, to us as women to learn and grow. So I'm going to be learning tonight, just like our audience is as well. But I want you to just share just a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Well, you gave me a great introduction.
I'm trying not to tell it all, right?
And before I get started, I just want to say thank you, and thank you to the community for having me. It is my honor and my blessing to be here. But my name is Nicole. I am a registered nurse. That is my profession when I am not sitting in front of a camera. I have been in healthcare for over 25 years, have been a registered nurse for about 20 years right now. And so my whole life is dedicated, pretty much, I say my whole life, but it's pretty much my whole life has been dedicated to advocating for other people. So now in this stage of my life, and with the help of BBW, I feel like I have fully walked into my purpose. Like, we often ask ourselves, well, what is our purpose in life? Why are we here? What are we destined to do? But I have been in search for a while, but in the past few years, it has started to all just come together and blossom like a beautiful flower. And I am just excited and elated to be where I am today in life. So as I advocate for others, I also work very hard behind the scenes to help women to learn how to advocate for themselves. We often give up our day. As a woman, you have multiple roles, multiple responsibilities. And we give up our time and our day to everyone else and everything else. And so often we forget who we are. We forget that we need that time for ourselves. We need time to pour into ourselves. And that's what I help women to do as individuals, but as a part of this community. I want to say BBW is a wonderful place and a safe space that not only is here to help other women, but they pour in to other women. And that's why I'm so excited to be your first ambassador.
Awesome. And when you were saying
I could go on and on.
Yeah, and we will, because we're going to dig a little bit deeper. But it's so amazing because when you said that, one of the things that people don't realize is this community serves busy women. We serve busy professional women leaders, just like from our advisory team. I don't even say on down, I'm saying on up, like, because even in the advisory team there's growth. That if you know, go back and listen to our last podcast, ladies who have not heard it, but just to see the growth that even they have had, just being in the presence and being in this space, being in this incubator, being in this place called Beautifully Bold Women. And when you shared, you know, I've been able to blossom, I'm like, girl, you done been able to come to butterfly, because butterfly, you done crystallized into what God has called you to be. Because like I said, I've known you for, you know, a few years now, and just understanding even how you have matriculated and grown. And that's why we're going to touch on that faith walk, but understanding even where you sit in this space of saying, now I sit in knowing my purpose. That wasn't always your conversation, right? That wasn't always when I met you. It was still a thing of, you know, even sharing and talking and being able to say, you know, talk beautifully when you express yourself, but just having that confidence and just knowing how just in, and I'm talking about the first meeting when I heard you open your mouth in that business and you was like, I'm a little nervous on this, and then you just open your mouth and was gone. I was like, look at her. And I'm just sitting because we ended up sitting next to each other, right? That whole day. And so it was just amazing to see even in that. And you have continued to stretch and continue to grow and continue, like you say, to become and sit in this space of owning it, right? Owning like where I am in my journey and understanding, we'll talk about this briefly here, but understanding that where I am in my journey is setting me right up into this place of taking on this role within this community, but also within yourself to say, now I want to advocate for other women to step in their space. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the Beautifully Bold Women concept, is that we are helping people to be groomed into leadership, to understand in order to be a leader, you have to step first into what you've been called and designed to do. And that's where, you know, within our community, people will get even more next year around the training of really, how do I find my place? Because so many women, and I don't want to get so ahead of myself, because you know, Nicole, I'll be on 10, right? When I get on 10 real quick. But really understanding that in order to evolve into where God had you to be, you have to walk those steps of understanding, who am I? What am I called to do? Ask yourself those questions and don't be afraid to move in the path that God has for you. We're going to talk about that because this is about faith. We're going to talk about a bit of surrendering, you know, to God's plan and his will. And it takes that. It takes all of that. And without being able to step into that space of knowing who you are first, then we can also help each other. And I believe that's what this community does. We're in the space of walking it out with you, being, like you said, that safe space, that incubator, that area where you can grow, where you can be nourished. And so it's so good to hear you say that, because I understand, like I said, from knowing you over these past few years and where you are today, and standing in that boldly and saying, now I know. That's a beautiful thing. That's just precious to me, because that's the job that we strive to do in this community, is for women to step up and say, I know. And now it's a process of continue walking it and needing that support system and encouragement, because even once we know, we still have to walk that journey out, and we need support, we need encouragement, we need mentorship from other women. And so we get that within this community. So that leads us into, I wanted to ask you, of course, knowing me, but what still led you into connecting in this community? Because there are people I know, but they're not necessarily everyone who's connected in the way you have to this community. So what led you initially to connecting to Beautifully Bold Women?
Well, you know, we've known each other for some time, and our conversations are always in-depth and strong, meaningful conversations. So when you talked about what you were going to do and what you were being led to do and start in this community, I was like, I've got to be there, right? I got excited just hearing you speak the words of it, right? Not knowing what it was going to look like in the end, but I was just excited, and I said, I have to be there. And it also came to me at a opportune time in my life, where I was coming out of a very low place, a very dark place. And I was still trying to find out where I belonged, where my purpose was, and often felt alone in that walk. Like nobody understood. I was just totally different, thought differently than everybody else. But when this opportunity and your community opened up, I was like, I need a community that will help me to stand when I can't stand. A community that will see things in me that I can't see in myself at the moment. a community that will give me strength to move into what my passion and what my purpose is. And I believe I found that right here with BBW. So, going back to, what led me here was when you told me, I had already had plans and was to go to another conference, right? I went to another conference and you told me the day. I said, I'm going to be there no matter when it is, right? If I have to come by myself. And your date so happened to fall the weekend after. So I traveled for the week. I came home for a few days and then I left again and traveled to your event. And I knew nobody there, but I never felt out of place. I felt welcome the whole time. And just that experience and that feeling in that moment, I knew that I was in the right place.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes when we met, I went to a place where I didn't know anybody. When we met that mastermind, I didn't know anybody. I just went on faith. I went to Atlanta, got a hotel room, stayed, and met you. Like, it's sometimes we have to take those leaps of faith to get in rooms and spaces that's going to expand us. A lot of times, and this is what Beautifully Bold Woman does too, it helps us gain that security and that boldness of saying, sometimes you got to stretch out. Ladies, you got to spread your wings. You're going to have to really be able to allow yourself to understand that God's made you beautifully in his image and in his sight. And so in that, it's going to take some risks. It's going to take some leaps of faith. It's going to take stepping out, because when you step out, you don't know the connection that God has for you. And so if I didn't step out to go get on a plane, stay in a hotel, be in Midtown Atlanta, a place I had not stayed before, met you, and then this day of you being our first ambassador and me knowing you, and then reigning from my birth state, my family root state of Raleigh, God sets it up so well, right? He sets it up so well. So I say that because the connections that we make are so meaningful. They're so, how about this, ladies, purposeful. But we've got to work in God's plan to do that. And so when you came to a time when it wasn't even Beautifully Bold Women yet. That was like a soft launch that nobody knew. That was called a time of refreshing. And at the end, the women began to say, well, what happens after this? We've gotten so much out of this experience. What happens after this? And we heard what was going on in the room. We felt breakthrough in the room. And women were like, what do we do next with all of this? Where do we go? And I said, I'm glad you asked. And so you were part of that. I'm glad you asked conversation right in the room to witness and see Beautifully Bold Women just come out, and also us launching. So again, it's being in spaces, allowing yourself to come, even when, and I want to get at myself because I felt this earlier today about being uncomfortable. Sometimes we got to get to a place, ladies, of knowing that it's okay to get uncomfortable, because in the unknown, we have to understand God is always still there. It's unknown to us, but the master has already created the plan. So he already knows what we're walking into. But we got to do a word called T, the big T, trust him, not Tim or the big T. I'm talking about trust. And sometimes we have to understand that in this journey to get to our place of purpose, there is a trusting of God and what he said about us in Jeremiah 29:11, that when we were in our mother's womb, he formed us, he fashioned us, he knew us, he gave us a plan and a purpose for good, not to harm us, but for good. And so as women of faith, we've got to really learn how to hold on to the word and have an understanding and a trust in the maker, the creator, the king of kings, who gave us a purpose and assignment. Like I said, we're change agents in the earth. We're on assignment. And so this community, I believe, like you said, this is just an overflow. We get this in the community, but this is just the richness of just sharing what happens when we come together, and how when we support each other, we can become what God has desired. So thank you for sharing what led you here. And now I want to ask, how has this community impacted you and influenced you both personally as well as spiritually? Because you're touching on it, but I want to go a little deeper with it.
All right. So we got time for this. So personally,
no worries about it.
Personally, it has given me a confidence within myself to know that I can move forward, and it's okay to move forward, even in the discomfort. I live today by my own self model. If it's comfortable, then I need to do something to be uncomfortable, right?
Mm,
I should be uncomfortable all the time. And to me, uncomfortable means growth and expansion. And that's what I want. I want to continually grow and expand. Um, and so, personally, what this community does, it provides me that backbone and that support to grow and to expand, to take those leaps without wondering the what ifs, right? Because the what ifs are always going to be there. But when you have a group of women that speak life into you, that pour into you when you feel that you can't take that next step, that is so meaningful beyond words, Pam. I can't even put that emotion into words. Spiritually, I sought out a community that was fostering the growth spiritually in other women because I wanted to expand my growth spiritually. But I wanted to find a safe place to do it, a place that wouldn't judge me for not memorizing the Bible. You know, we have those spaces that look down on you because you don't know XYZ verse, you don't know where these words come from in the Bible. They make you feel less than. Um, whew.
it's okay. Okay.
I and I wanted to move away from those spaces
Mm,
because I know what those spaces feel like. Um, and so part of my own mission in advocating for other women to to step into who they are and to grow and expand the way they see fit in their own lives. Your spiritual growth is a part of your overall growth. We can't have our physical growth. We can't have mental, emotional, if we and spiritual, if we're unbalanced in all those areas. We have to be holistic. And I think that's what this environment, I don't think, I know that that is what this environment is. It's a holistic environment that takes in the woman as a whole, that takes in the individual for who they are and helps them to move into who they want to be. And that is what I'm all about doing personally when I interact with any other person. And that's what I needed to find for myself, and I found it.
mm. Thank you. And you're sharing us our pillars. We have to do it in a holistic way because we're not in parts. We're a whole being. There is no division. If there's any division, that's disunity, and that's not God. We deal with the whole person. So thank you for sharing that. So what are some of the lessons that you believe, just as you think back to the interactions that you've had in this community, and even maybe not directly in the community, but even in being a part of the community throughout the year of this community existing and connecting, and what are some of the lessons or takeaways that you've been able to glean from it for yourself personally?
One lesson I would say is no matter how, I would say to everyone out there that's listening, no matter how bad you think things are in your present moment, and no matter how much you feel like you are alone and you may want to isolate yourself, don't do it. Don't isolate. Community is the best thing that you could ever do for yourself. Find a community that allows you to be you. Find a community that will help you to walk into and step into the person that you want to be. That will be the greatest gift that you could give yourself. And I say that because so often in the past, I tried to figure it out on my own, right? And when we try to figure it out on our own, sometimes we get in our own way. And we have to just let go and let God. Just let go and let God do what it is He wants to do. Um, and that is what I've learned. I've also learned that it's okay. It's okay not to fully have all the answers. It's okay.
Yeah. And we're not going to always have the answers. But when you said community, in community, unity is in community. And we have to leverage the lessons of others. And that's what we get a benefit of too in this community, to be able to hear other people's stories, like hearing your story, to leverage those lessons. Because a lot of times, like you said, we think we got to do it all on our own. I'm the person that I learned a long time ago. I don't have to be the person to experience it to learn from somebody else. Matter of fact, I'd rather learn from somebody else than to have the bumps and the bruises myself. Because when I see something, and somebody's done something, and particularly somebody I admire and I'm following, I'm watching, whether they know it or not, and they share a lesson or an experience, I listen to that and I leverage that lesson and say, okay, now I know what not to do. Some people like to just go ahead and move and bump their head 10 times and just say, I got to do it myself. I'm the person that I say, listen, for me, when someone else has already shared and I can see, and again, I admire them from afar or may know them closely. If they share something with me, I'm like, okay, that's a lesson learned. I don't have to go through it myself when someone's already been there, right? And can tell me, no, you don't want to do it that way, or no. And I'm someone who is an out of the box thinker. I'm full of ideas. But at the same time, I'm also someone who has the wisdom to learn lessons from others. That's all the book of Proverbs is. It's a book of wisdom saying, hear my son and daughter, listen to the words that I speak, because that's just training us into what to do, what not to do, because it helps us follow more plainly, if I can say it that way, the path that God has for us. So I think in this community, you leverage the lessons. And so I think that also just in bearing what you're saying, I believe has been a benefit as well. And so I want to move to the fact of, and you kind of, we touched on a lot just in just the pieces, because like I said, I know your story, but at the same time, I also know that, like myself, you have had challenges and obstacles, and we share similar challenges and obstacles of loss. Both of us having lost our mother, being caregivers, making career moves, all of these different things. You and I have both shared that we've had a similar journey of things that we've done to really understand how to process pain, how to move through and understand that pain is a part of the path to purpose, understanding that in these challenges, and we kind of touched on that, the reality is challenges are what God uses to grow us up. Without understanding that being uncomfortable, right? That's challenging to be uncomfortable, but those new beginnings that, we may want to do, or a new business or a new job opportunity. These are things that grow us up, completing a project that we feel like we can't accomplish and leaning on God, or dealing with difficult relationships or situations. These are challenges that we all had to deal with on a certain level. And you and I have shared some similar challenges that we had. But I want to ask you that in these challenges that you have faced, how has these challenges influenced and impact your faith?
Whoa. To be totally honest and transparent, like challenge over me, I allowed them to have me in moments of despair, moments of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And through my growth, learn me and who I am as an individual, those challenges are lessons. So I can look back on that, the shame, letting go of pain and hurt, right? But looking at the situation, each challenge, what is the that I'm with me and forward. So to me, as I look at it,
I'm sorry, I think we have some technical difficulties. Nicole, I can't hear you at this point. Let's see, we're having technical difficulties, and this is a first because we know the enemy don't want us to get this information out, but we're going to get it out tonight. We're going to see how we can fix your audio. Let's see. Give me 1 second to. This is live, y'all. Y'all can see, but this is not pre-recorded. We're on live tonight. Let's see what we can do to get the connection back, because I did hear some interference. Nicole, you are muted. If you can unmute your line, and then we can get back. Let's see. We can get you back on here. Let's see. Talk to my team, see if we can get you back on. Let's see. Let's see. We're working behind the scenes to deal with this technical difficulty. Let's see, Nicole. We're trying to get you unmuted.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay.
Perfect. The enemy can't stop this show. You see, I just be rolling my team, working behind the scene. It was going chip when you were talking, and I was like, okay, maybe we will get through, because we've never had this before with the lines. But we know this technology, and we know the enemy can come in the airways, but he has no place. He has no power. We're going to continue to move forward. But I want to again hear you were sharing about the challenges and how how it's influenced you, how it's impacted you, and what are some of the things that you have been able to do in times of challenge? What practices, what faith practices have you had to develop in order to move through these challenges? Just like we got this challenge right here.
That's right. We came through it.
This is what it is. Like, we this is live. Like I told them, this is not pre-recorded. But when we go, we can always spice the video and make sure we're good on the back end. But at the end of the day, this is how powerful for me. I don't sweat, because I understand that this is how the enemy works. When things are happening and lives are being changed, there's going to be interference. But that just lets me know we're doing something for the kingdom. So I wanted you to share, and I want you to get that word out, because you were sharing with us.
Yes. So I'm not sure where I stopped. Where you heard me.
Go right from where you are, and it's all good. That's right, prayer warriors. I love it. Thank you, prayer warriors. Keep watching. I love it.
We thank you.
I'm in good company.
For those prayer warrior. So I was talking about the challenges, how I used to look at them as barriers and used to allow them to keep me standing still in my comfort zone, thinking that I felt was defeated. But now I look at those challenges as lessons and stepping stones. So I go back and I refer to them, and I'm like, okay, this is where I was at this place in my life. What was going on right there? What was I supposed to learn, and how can I use that today for my betterment, or whether it's for my individual growth or to share with someone else. So I try to think of, there are no challenges. There are no challenges. Everything is a lesson. Mm-hmm. And so a big part of how I got to that point was just, first of all, I had to do a hardcore soul search with Nicole.
Yep.
Right? It started there. Yeah. When we are in a moment of despair and feel like everything is wrong, it's so easy to blame someone else for what you don't have or what you want, right? Mm-hmm. But I kind of flipped it. I spent time with Nicole, and I looked at myself in the mirror beyond the physical, wasn't worried about the hair, the makeup, the clothes, or nothing, but looked at Nicole, looked deep inside of my soul, and figured out what is going on. Is this the person I see? Is this the person I want others to see? The person I am, is this the person that I want to be, or do I want to be more? And I started dissecting each part of me. And it was ugly. It's not easy. It wasn't overnight. It takes time, and I still do it each day today. So I had to learn that. I learned that lesson, to look at myself, but then I had to learn how to give myself grace, right? We are so easy and so forgiving to everyone else. People will do wrong, they will say wrong, they will think wrong, and we overlook it. We overlook it. We say, no problem, no worries, I forgive you. But do we forgive ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to learn that lesson, to give myself, Nicole, you didn't do it right today, but tomorrow is another day. Get it, you'll get it right then.
Yeah.
Had to forgive myself for the past so that I could stand firmly in my present and move into my future. Because I don't want to carry what's behind me is behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I ultimately had to do, as far as my spiritual life was to just surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Surrender to God everything that I had, everything that I knew it to be, the way I knew it. And that surrender is an ongoing thing. It's a daily task. Like when you get up in the morning, you have to say, move me out of the way. Let me let go of what I think my day should look like, what I think my relationship should look like, what I think my friendship should look like, what I think or where I think I should be in life, right?
That's good right there. Mm-hmm.
Get past all of the social media that we have, that instant gratification that we want, and learn to be patient with what I have and be grateful for what I have. Yeah. So each day, there is something that I'm grateful for.
Yes.
Even if I'm stuck in traffic for an hour and a half, I'm grateful to be on the road in a car, able to get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful to have that quiet time where I can reflect on myself and my day so that I can be a better me when I get home or when I get to work. So gratitude, I would say this order. Spend time with yourself. Get to know you. Be honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't gloss over those hard areas.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm so full right now. I'm just losing my.
That's okay. When I'm sensing, go ahead.
But yeah, but to be honest with yourself, to surrender, to find gratitude in each day and each moment. And don't forget to give yourself grace and forgiveness.
And this what I'm sensing in what you were saying, the key I keep hearing, your journey is your journey. And yes. Looking at the ugly parts, because you started talking about blame. And I always say blame is lame, because there's a lot of times people do things and the first thing they want to do is put the blame game on there. And I've always said that's just, it's never going to get any of us anywhere without first identifying, acknowledging certain things, because there's no one person you can control other than you. Mm-hmm. That's number one. So barring any external things, the thing that you do within yourself and becoming who God created you to be, when you focus on that, those things which are external, they really don't have as much weight at the end of the day.
That's
and they
right.
Quite
That's
frankly,
right.
Because God being so powerful, so strategic, so omniscient, all-knowing, everything he does, when we realize that when we surrender, because that's what you're leading into, which we're going to talk about, like surrendering to what he designed for you, it's not that the journey is going to be easy, because we have to learn the lessons to strengthen us for the work, the assignment that he has for us. But knowing that in the journey, like you said, giving yourself grace, but knowing in that God is the keeper of the plan, right?
Yes, he is.
So when we understand that, and when, again, going back to the big T, trusting him, we can understand that being honest with ourselves helps us to see God better, because we're made, come on, Holy Ghost, in his image and in his likeness. So when we sit with self to understand us better, we understand more of who he is, because we understand who he created us to be. Yeah. So in that, there is such a freeing, such a fulfillment, such ability to give yourself grace, because now you understand it's not, like you said, about the social media. It's not about what everybody else is doing. It's about what, God, you've commanded me to do. And reverse that and say, what you've commanded me to do is to impact and influence others, not necessarily have so much of what's on the outside influence you. See, I'll go a whole nother direction and put us in a whole nother podcast, because how I flow, my spirit was just touching in and tapping in on that. But the truth of the matter is, it all starts with us.
Yes.
And quite frankly, it ends with us, because at the end of the day, it's our assignment. It's our purpose. We have to lean into that. And in leaning into that means that there has to be an intentionality. There has to be a focus. There has to be a turning down of the external noise. There has to be not a comparison or looking at what is going on outside of you, but saying, God, what in me? Like you said, the daily, when you wake up and what you're grateful for. My thing is, God, here I am again. When I wake up in the morning, it's God, I'm turning my heart, my mind, my spirit back to you. Because at the end of the day, the surrender is knowing that he's in control. Not that he made us robots, but he's saying, my grace is sufficient for you, so that when you're working throughout your day and you're working with me and working where I'm working, then the things that we go through, those challenges that we go through,
don't even matter.
Afflictions, as the Bible says, they don't touch us the way that they could, because what? He is for us. He's our rear guard, and he knows every place that we walk when we're walking in his will. Yes, if you take detours, he can put you back on the path, but understanding and knowing at the end of the day that there are going to be challenges, but he goes with us, particularly when we're surrendering to his will. He already is handling things, but it also, we have to understand that we have to do that self introspection, because we have to understand that's part of the growth, because of the assignment on our life, so that we can handle the weight of it, handle what we wouldn't know. We don't know without those challenges. We don't know without being uncomfortable. We don't know without looking at ourselves, from the inside out, to really understand, oh, that's what that's for. Or we look back on it, because the past can serve us only if we can see what God was doing, more closely. So if you're going to look back in the past, look at what God has done.
Right. Where you have come from.
And then, but the realization of, oh, now I know why. That's purpose, because he has to grow us up in things so that we can see better in his perspective. So that's good right there. So we leaned into surrender, and we talked about your faith journey. And so I want to now lean into being our first official BBW ambassador. Mm-hmm. What are some of the reasons that inspired you to step into that role and that position, to really say, I'm on fire, I'm ready for this, I like this? Tell me more.
Because this is a community that I believe in. This is a community I believe in. It aligns with my own individual, goals and values, as far as helping women to step into and walk in their purpose. So I feel at home here. It was an easy decision, is what I want to say. It was an easy decision. I'm all about seeing the growth in others. And that's what this space is. And if I could help to foster that for your community, then I'm here for it.
Yes. And two, I think the way that the caring and the compassion, because that's what we also, I think is an outward thing that we exude in this community, because we do care. And I think whether we're in our Soul Crave conversations, whether we're on a podcast like this, we come out feeling different. We come out connecting and feeling, like you say, that you're not alone. Even in our soul, the belonging, like you feel that. And so I'm just grateful that you bring, like I said, a warmth, a care, a compassion to this community, just by your profession, knowing that a nurse, that's someone who cares. That's someone who has compassion. That's someone who cares about the person, the whole person. And so I just am thankful that you are in that role, and that compassionate care piece within our community. Like I said, this already exuded, but being able to magnify that and having you as an ambassador. And I would share, and you kind of share like what this means to you personally, because it aligns. And that's what we want. We want people aligned with the vision, with the values of this community. And I know that you do that. So what are you looking forward to in this next year as we begin to kind of roll out kind of the things that I know privately that we've shared that we will definitely be working on for 2025, but understanding that even personally, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to in this coming year as you continue to spread your wings and step into more, like you said, the boldness and the confidence of the purpose that you have, and how this community has helped stair steps you into that?
I am looking, first, I don't even know if I could say I'm looking for anything. I am willing to accept whatever God has for me. Whatever it is, I'm willing to accept it, but I'm willing to be able to be more of a catalyst to help women to get where they want to be in their own personal lives and in their own spiritual journeys, to help them to be that person that they want to be, that person that they were ultimately created to be, that they should be. I want to see more communities like this and be in places and environments with other women that wanted to defy what society gives us today.
Yeah.
I want us to break all those rules as we know it and to step outside of it. And like you say, that big T, totally put your trust in God, because ultimately that's where your purpose is. That's where your plan is. And I just want to see more of that. So whatever that means and whatever that brings, I'm here for it.
Awesome. And you probably know by now, knowing me when you're talking, I'm like, breaking barriers, what I always do. I'm from the womb, being a preemie, I just keep breaking barriers. Like, it's just a part of my DNA. And so you know that what you're sharing to me is whatever God lays in front of us and the expectation. That's one of the beautiful things that I love about this assignment that God has given me, because it's an assignment. It's not something that, and you know me for those years, my other business is not, and of course, it's under the umbrella of financial wellness, is not, wasn't a community. I never talked to you about building a community, never even had it in my mind, but God put me on pause early last year after having a major event, blessing people's life with my financial brand, but understanding that when we are acquiescing to the will of God and surrendering to his plan, that in his perfect timing and things that we couldn't always foresee for ourselves, this is how he's bringing us to the purpose and the plan. So even as being the founder of this community is evolving based on how God designed for it to evolve. I can definitely hear God and begin to put the plans in place and hear what he's saying. And there's some things that you put it down, but it might not be for this year, might not be for next year. I've learned that in this year. That's a lesson I've learned, is that it's something he wants to do, but it wasn't this year. So next year. And if it doesn't happen next year, it's coming, right? So I know that. So there's an expectation. So what I love is that the beauty of this community and how God has even given it to me is I walk with the Lord. If there's something that he says, no, we're not going to do that, we don't do it. Put that on pause, because he taught me in a season of even birthing this community, how to wait. How to wait on him for the answer, for the leading. And so that has been my biggest lesson to take away, even birthing this community, is understanding how God led me into a process of waiting and really believing him. And those are, you talking about ugly places, ugly cries, ugly feelings, like, God, what are you doing to me? I mean, I'm just on a roll with this, but he's like, okay, but this is 20 years in the making of something you've been running from, but this is what I'm calling you to do. And so when we do surrender and our expectations is in God, then what you're saying is, you know what? I'm looking forward to what God has, but I'm not looking to create my own plan about how God does it.
Exactly. Because my plan got me in a mess.
Said, this plan ain't working.
My plan was not working. I had to let go of that plan.
Plans that didn't work. It's like rescue 911. Come help me, God. He's like, well, here I come, daughter. But I'm merciful, so I'm going to help you out. But we have to get, and we're gesturing that, but we have to get to a place where we don't always have to go to those places and spaces of getting low, as you said, right? Mm-hmm. If we just allow ourselves to flow with God. And it's not easy, ladies, we understand, but that's why we're in a community where we're challenged to do it, but we have sisters alongside of us who are going through this journey, going through this purposeful moments to get to where God called us to be, because what we have to understand is we never arrive at a place, because even when your purpose to do one thing, the overarching thing that God's called you to do, it's there. But then he'll take you to another level and another level. So even when you arrive at one level, he's going to challenge you to the next level, because in God, we know there are no limits. There are no boundaries. And that's why I said earlier, even in this community, there's no limits. There's no boundaries to how we connect, serve, and bring women together to do what God has called us to do. And I believe he's going to continue to connect us with more women joining this community in the upcoming years, more women who's going to be able to say, like you said, now I know my purpose, but I'm in a community of support where as I'm walking it out, I have some people who are encouraging me, empowering me along the way, inspiring me along the way, just as you've done on tonight. So as we begin to close out, ladies, if you have questions, we want your questions for Nicole and myself, anything around purpose, surrendering to God's will, faith journey, because sometimes if we're real with ourselves, ladies, there can be, when God has called us to something, we may not clearly know what it is, or how, or we know God has called us to something, but we don't always know how to get started. And you need a safe place to get you understanding, get started. This is that place. So if that's you, don't be shy. This Beautifully Bold Women, we want you to put that hand emoji in the comments or say that's me, because this is a place where really we can serve you, to help you, because we're growing together. And so I want you to understand that this is a community. This is a safe space, but also it's a space where we are being different, doing different, we're getting different results. Like Nicole said, we're not doing it the way everybody else is doing it, but we are doing it with God. And God has never been like trying to be predictable. God, he doesn't change. He's unchangeable. But at the end of the day, what he can reveal to us, it can blow our mind, because eyes, as the Bible says, has not seen, and ears have not heard. So there's always another level in God. But I want you ladies to, if you have any questions, to go ahead and type your questions in the comment section for us. We would love to answer your questions. So if you have them, please go ahead and type them in. Also, I was going to say, Nicole, to you in particular, how best can we support you in this community? Because, of course, being an ambassador is going to be things that you and I are going to be talking about, things that we're going to be working on. But is there any other thing that we can best support you within this community as, you continue in the journey of moving in your purpose?
I would say just continue being the community that you are today. One of the things that I also enjoy about this community is that it's not just a community that prays for you. A lot of people will say, I'll pray for you, I'll pray for you. But this community prays with you. And, sometimes that's what you need, that unity, like you said, in the community to get you through to the other side. So just keep doing what you're doing, and it will all just come together as it needs to.
And I'm glad you said it, because one of the things that has been constantly pricked on my heart from the beginning, we've been doing prayer within our community. Even in August, we had weekly prayer, but we have monthly prayer every fourth Wednesday of the month. Now, of course, it'll be a holiday next week, so that's why we moved up our podcast and we won't have the prayer call due to the holiday. However, we are a praying community, and it's foundational in our community that we pray, and there'll be more things that we're going to be doing in that vein. But prayer is truly one of the pieces and the crux of our community that not only holds us together, but as the founder of this community, that's my communication with God, to constantly keep moving keep, striving, keep doing everything, and to keep surrendering to what he has. It takes prayer to continue to be in the face of the Father to say, God, what's next? What is it today that you want me to do? What do you not want me to do today? Or what are your plans for this particular thing that we are doing, so that everything comes together in the way that he designs? Because I'm very intentional about giving everything that he's already given me back, and Beautifully Bold Women is one of them. This is something that I'm a vessel and a conduit so God can use me to bring women together so that we can be bolder, that we can move in our purpose and become everything that he called us to be. So I just want to see if we have any questions out there before we end up our time together. How much does it cost to join the community?
Not a penny.
Community is free. Community is free. We will have, and it's something that we've talked about in 2024, that we are still, that's on the table again, and God, as he has it, there are going to be mentorships and there's mentorship levels. So there are sometimes there's training and things inside the community that for the community, we strive to have free. Like, we do have training conversations. We've had things on finances. All those things are free. But there are other things that particularly myself and some of our advisors, some of our leaders that will be doing that may cost, because we also open it up outside of the community as well. But inside the community, what you get, what we've done, those things are free. And joining the community, there is no cost to join our community. Great question. Any other questions? All right, so there might be one. Okay, that we did see that. Do we have chapters in different states? So let me just share one thing, and I'm sharing it because in my spirit, I have to, Nicole, you know me, but those of you who may not know me or just started watching the podcast, I'm very clear and intentional about the words that I use. This is not a sisterhood. We're sisters in Christ, but this is a community about purpose. And so we won't be having what you call quote unquote chapters, because this is a community, but it's not a 501c3 organization. This is about kingdom business and kingdom purposes, and a place where women can be equipped to understand their purpose and have the support and encouragement to go out and do it. Now, will we be extending our borders? Absolutely, because there are no borders, because we are a virtual community as well. But we do believe that God is expanding our territory, which I will share in that way, for us to be able to be in different spaces and places to do what we've already done, but be able to do it in other places. And so hopefully that answers your question. But there won't be quote unquote chapters. Like I said, I'm very specific and intentional in my wording. So I don't want it to people to believe that you're coming into just a sisterhood and we're, just rah-rah. We're really intentional about kingdom business and equipping and empowering women. But we do want to make sure that we're also getting connected in the spaces where sometimes just even the virtual may not be enough, and we want to come together. We will be working on those things. So thank you for that question. Those are definitely, I would say, God things that are on the table. I'll just say that. But thank you for that question. I love it. Good question. Anybody else? Good questions. So Nicole, if we have any other questions, there's no more questions. Thank you, team. What is one final word that you like to leave with everybody? A final word of encouragement?
Oh, I think we got a question. One. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's good. So what are some of the ways you silence the noise around you? First of all, I say some of the ways you silence the noise is you don't have to participate in the noise, right? That's the first thing, because to understand that we got to be in certain spaces and be in certain places and do things. I have to calm myself down a little bit, because you're talking to someone who actually doesn't always follow what everyone else does. I'm very much intentional about following God and not everybody else, because God, he knows right where we are. And sometimes we because of our societal norms, we think that things have to happen a certain way. And so because we do that, we invite the noise in. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily conscious, it's just what we've been used to doing, right? So it's almost unconscious that we continue to be in this cycle, and we don't understand it. We have the permission to mute the noise, if you will. We have permission to not participate in certain things that, when you know you, that is going to get you off kilter, get you off focus, get you off of where God has for you. So that is why it's so important within this community that we share and we have our soul crave conversations to help guide us all back on a path of oneness with God, right? And what he's designed for us to do. Because clearly, a lot of times when you're focused, you could be in a room and, it could be people around you, but when you're focused on something, you notice how you don't hear what's going on. You don't even know what the person said. You don't know what the TV was saying or what channel it's on. That's because you're focused. So with this community, when you're focused on your assignment and your purpose, particularly with so much noise being outside those doors, which we all deal with on a daily basis, we have to be intentional about the places and spaces that we allow ourselves to be in. We also have to be intentional about what God has for us. Like Joshua said, as for me and my house, sometimes we have to understand that there's a line that we have to draw, some boundaries that we have to draw in our lives so that our intention and our focus can be on the plan that God has for us. Because if we don't, we'll find ourselves in life constantly distracted because there's always something going on, always something to do. Burger King is always going to tell you to have it your way. And so in that is going to be confusion and chaos, as we always see. But what we have to understand is that we don't have to participate in it. And I think that's one of the things that we have to get used to, because we're in a society where they have this FOMO, fear of missing out. And so everyone's plugging in, tagging in, connecting in to so much. And it's an overload. And it keeps us a lot of times from really hearing the still small voice that God's saying, I've been trying to get your attention all along, but there's so much other noise that we are allowing in. And that's why some of the spiritual practices that I'll share that I have is prayer, it's meditation, it's devotional. It's those things that's going to allow me to tune in first to what God says, so then I can understand how to operate when I get outside my devotional time, outside of my prayer time, because actually it better equips you that even if you're in a space of noise, it's not gonna move you because you're so focused on God. So I hope that answered your question, but I think we're in a time and a day of technology. We're in a time and a day where everyone has an opinion, everyone has a voice, and it's important to have those voices out there. But it's also important for us to know what is for us and what's not. And the only way you can know that is tuning into what God is saying to you, so you know what to filter out and you know what to take in. So I hope that.
And Tamara, I just want to add to that, and that means spending quiet time with yourself each and every day. That is one thing that I have implemented into my daily practice is quiet time with myself, quiet time in prayer, quiet time in meditation, quiet time in reading my word, but just quiet time. And then you will find that you'll start to hear. Mm-hmm. You'll know what that word is that comes from God, and you'll know that it came from him. But you have to quiet yourself.
Yeah, you got to get quiet in a noisy world. Quiet, noise is a commodity, but quiet is gem. We have to own that for ourselves. You know what I mean? Because again, no one's going to do it for us. And when you decide, when you've had enough, you will find a way, if you want your sanity to really be able to hone into what God has for you. And I think we're coming to a day and time where I will say this community is so important, because purpose, I think, is the one thing that gives life meaning, and the one thing you can hold on to, and the one thing that you connect to that can make sense out of what's going on, not just in the world, but in your own life. And you can understand where your role and where your place is. And then when you move into that place and you're doing what God called you to do, there can become more of a calmness within yourself, because there's an assurance, of who you are, where you are, and what God's calling you to do. So everything else doesn't even feel like noise anymore, because you're not focused on that, and you're very intent on what it is that you've been designed to do. So not easy getting started in that process, but it's worth it. But it's training yourself to kind of come out of those spaces. Great. All right. So Nicole, you have one nugget before we close out here? Just one nugget.
One nugget I would say is just know that no matter where you are in life, where you are in your present, there is always more out there for you. Go after it. Don't be afraid. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not know. But the fear of not doing something is worse than taking that step into moving in the right direction.
Amen. And I was just thinking when you shared that, even with the what we had tonight, the first interference, the static and the noise, what do? We move through it.
Yeah.
So continue, ladies, to move through it.
Yes.
Continue to move through it. So ladies, I believe and I hope and know that this podcast tonight has inspired you in some way. I want you to please share this broadcast with someone, have them even review it yourself again, because I know that in Nicole's story and something that we've shared blesses someone on tonight, because it's not about us, it's about us sharing, because we know that it imparts and inspires someone else. So please share this podcast. Also, we want you to join us on Instagram. If you have not already, you can follow us on Instagram at Beautifully Bold Women. So you want to go to Instagram at Beautifully Bold Women. Also, join our email list. There's a link in our Instagram bio where you can join our email list so you won't miss out on any news, updates, things that are going on in the community. Also, you want to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So make sure if you're on tonight live, make sure you hit that like button, but also share it, and also have your friends like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also understand that this is our final episode of the year. But somebody say, but we will be back. We will be back. So at the top of the year, we will be back for our new season, new episode, because we're moving into a new season. We'll be into our new season, new episode on January the 23rd of 2025, which is the fourth Tuesday of the month, which is when our podcast air. So again, we want to see you back, of course, in January, but more importantly, we want to see you connected into community now. So make sure you follow us on Instagram, join our email list, and tune in, connect in, because we know that your life will truly be empowered, be inspired, and you will begin to walk in the things that God has for you. So thank you, Nicole, so much for being on here with us tonight. Thank you so much for being our first BBW ambassador. And I am so excited and can't wait. As I know God is continuing to reveal, I'm in expectation of already what he's going to do in 2025 through your role within this community, and also what God is going to do overall. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live. And thank you to those who will be watching the replay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.